Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. So this week, everybody is back. Arrow, Flash, Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow, all start shooting again. This is mostly going to be about those first couple of episodes, but the actors have started to tease things. So the Flash and Arrow started filming this week, or start filming this week. The Flash starts on Wednesday. Arrow starts today. Stephen Amell's like, hey, we're back, we're filming, I'm in a tuxedo. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what's going to be happening in those first episodes. There are a few things that we know about, few things that are still a mystery, like the Flashpoint storyline. So this weekend, Stephen Amell was misquoted talking about Flashpoint when people were like, is it going to affect Arrow? And he's like, sure, but he said it sarcastically. People took it the wrong way. So people were like, oh my God, Flashpoint is majorly going to affect the Arrow storyline. And he had to clarify. So he's like, no, I have no idea how much Flashpoint's going to affect Arrow. So I'll just reiterate what I said way back when they first announced Flashpoint, what I think is going to happen, just because logistically it's so difficult even to have minor crossovers, is that they will only address the changed timeline when Flash stuff is happening on Arrow. So like when Felicity or Diggle or Oliver says something or references the Flash characters, like Barry was talking about this the other day on the phone, that's when they'll talk about Flashpoint stuff. Otherwise, the characters themselves wouldn't know anything's different if the timeline's been changed. Like Oliver wouldn't have memories of the previous timeline. As far as we know, the only person who would be able to detect the difference in timelines would be Cisco. So what exactly is going to be happening in the first couple of episodes? So in the first episode of Arrow, which starts filming today, Stephen Amell is probably filming Mayor Oliver Queen scenes, like him schmoozing with all his constituents, just like dealing with the day-to-day of being mayor. But because each new season of Arrow and Flash typically pick up like 3 months in the timeline later, that presents like a big question mark for where the Flash starts in episode 1. Because typically the Flash would be like 3 months later. Like at the start of season 2, Barry had been away from Team Flash. He'd been trying to rebuild the city. They kind of split up for a while, like in the way that Team Arrow is split up right now. The huge difference this year is already like apparent. Like the minute he saved his mother, everyone's like, oh my God, he did the Flashpoint thing. He's going to go back and it's all going to be different. So what they're probably going to have to do on the Flash that's different from Arrow episode 1 is have like a short sequence at the beginning of the episode where he goes back, it's different, and then they flash forward, instead of like Arrow where they can just immediately pick up 3 months later. Like they have to address what happens right after Barry saves his mother and goes back. So like I said, even though season 3 of The Flash is like the Flashpoint season, it's going to look very different from the actual plot of Flashpoint. It's really just like the thematic beats, like the collateral damage that Barry causes by going back and messing with the timeline, saving his mother. So like in this version, it's like the TV show's version of Flashpoint, Barry will still have Flash powers because they already did the Flashpoint moment where he loses his powers, then gets them back like he does in the Flashpoint comic book. So what about the big villains and the new characters they announced on Arrow? There are like 2 big new characters, or 3 if you include Chad Coleman from Walking Dead. So starting with The Flash, we have Tom Felton. He's probably going to get introduced the same way Jay Garrick got introduced last year, not in the very first episode, maybe in the second or third episode, because they just announced the character. They're shooting this week, so I'm assuming that episode 1 will be dedicated to Barry just getting used to all the things that are different. It'll be like, oh my God, look at what's changed because of what you've done. Then in episode 2, they can dedicate more time to introducing this new character. They haven't really confirmed which episode he's going to debut in. I'm just assuming that most of episode 1 is going to be dedicated to setting up what's different about each of the big main characters. Like what's different about Cisco, what's different about Caitlin, all the other characters, answering what's going on with Tom Cavanaugh's character. Is he going to be another version of Harrison Wells? Is he going to be Earth 2 Harrison Wells? On the Arrow side of things, episode 1 doesn't really need to worry about that. They have a little bit easier time because at the end of the last season, Team Arrow just kind of went their separate ways. They'll just open the season, touching base with all the characters, what they've been doing in the last 3 months, what they're doing right now, and teeing up the big vigilante storyline that's going to be happening this year. The cool thing about the new season of Arrow is that just like Flashpoint, they're kind of using it to reset the show just a little bit. Now, not in like a comic book Flashpoint way. It's not the changed timeline that's resetting the show. It's just that like all the characters are going to be doing vastly different things. Like the dynamic is going to be relatively similar, even though the individual arcs and like the way they tell those is going to be a little bit different. I think they're using the opportunity to do more of a Wire type storyline where like each character has like a really clearly defined storyline this season. So if you never watched The Wire, like David Simon is like somebody that a lot of Hollywood writers worship. He and the writers of that show just did a really good job of giving each of the characters like a very clearly defined storyline with motivation. Like you really understood what each of the characters' goals were, what they were working towards. I think that's the real challenge for Arrow and The Flash is like, does each character have a clearly defined story arc? Will you, at the end of the season, be able to say that like each character's storyline, while separate from the others, was able to contribute in some way to the macro arc? So we actually know a little bit more about what the macro arc is in Arrow Season 5. The city's gone to shit, vigilantes have risen up and are cleaning up their city, but in a very Punisher type way, like bodies dropping left and right. So Oliver has to make his city better while also contending with all these new vigilantes, while he himself was also a vigilante. Like he used to kill people in Season 1, now he's on the other side of that equation. So that's where most of the drama is. You also have this Chad Coleman character who is doing a very Wire type storyline where he's consolidating power amongst all the gangs. And physically, he's also very scary looking, so like you would definitely believe that he'd be able to kick Oliver's ass. On The Flash, it's a little bit different because obviously I think we all expect Barry to have to go back and allow his mother to die at the end of the season, because that's kind of what happens during the Flashpoint arc. Like Barry has to learn that there are things that he can't change and he just has to be okay with that. So like his mother dying is a very bad thing, but that doesn't give him the right to use his power to change everyone else's life to suit his. So he, in fact, going back to save his mother is just as bad as the Reverse Flash going back to kill his mother. Although technically he was trying to kill young Barry and then killed his mother when the other Flash came back. There's a whole bunch of versions of Barry in that flashback scene. So I'll be really curious if when Season 1 of The Flash picks up, like that first episode, Barry is still back in that moment and they pick up immediately with his mother crying, like not sure what the hell is going on, because a couple of crazy superheroes wearing weird pajamas are in her living room and she doesn't know what the hell is going on. I think the line that she had when she died during the end of Season 1 was, when she kind of recognized Barry, she's like, "You look like my father." Like she didn't quite know who he was, but he looked familiar. So like the last couple of words in the Season 2 finale he said to her is like, "You're okay, you're fine," and then she stops crying, she calms down a little bit. So I'll be interested to see if they choose to continue that conversation when Episode 1 picks up, or if they pick up with Barry immediately time traveling back and he shows up and is like, "Oh my god, everything's different." Then he sees everyone and then it flashes forward 3 months to catch up with the Arrow timeline. Because if you've been watching Game of Thrones this season, you know all about all these different story arcs going on all over the world not lining up. And it screws with your head in a major way because you have characters with the Daenerys storyline that are moving at a certain pace. Then you have the stuff going on up in the north with Jon Snow. It's going on at a very different pace. It's just that it helps when you have a lot of characters and a lot of storylines on a TV show like Flash or Arrow, or really any show, that all move in real time. It just makes it easier to follow a storyline. So the other big thing to get hype about, besides Comic-Con, that's coming in a couple weeks. Well, we'll talk about that again real soon. But Stephen Amell posts on social all the time from his trailer. Grant Gustin said this year he is also going to do the same thing. Not quite in the same way that Stephen Amell does it, but he's going to be posting more from behind the scenes as they film episodes. So whatever he ends up talking about, if there's anything cool, I will totally make videos about it. Usually they're really good about not spoiling things. So if there are any specific bonus videos that you guys want me to do for Flashpoint on The Flash, or what's going on with all the crazy vigilantes on Arrow, just let me know in the comments. There'll be some Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow stuff to talk about soon too. They've been a little bit quieter about those shows. We know that Episode 1 of Supergirl is called The Adventures of Supergirl, so that's like a whole other thing that I'll talk about in a different video once we learn a little bit more about what's going on with that universe now that it's on the CW. I think that the storytelling will just be more serialized. Big payoffs will be a little bit easier for them to do. We have Superman coming in the first 2 episodes. He'll be coming as Clark Kent, but I think he'll also be wearing his Superman costume. The new round of the giveaway starts now, so if you guys don't know, I do a DC giveaway every week. It just runs across all my DC videos. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave a comment on this video. It's just a $20 Amazon gift card. So there'll be more TV stuff happening later this week that I'll do a video for, but there'll also be comic book stuff, like Flash Rebirth is going on right now. They're introducing the Godspeed villain, so I'll explain what's going on with that. So while you guys wait for my next video to post, you can click here for all my Flash Season 3 videos. I have some theories about who the villain's gonna be. And you can click here to watch Deadpool troll the shit out of Batman v Superman. And himself. Deadpool always trolls himself. So thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you guys tonight.